thank you so much for joining us on Go Island. We are going to take you back in time today on the show, because right now we are standing on Victoria's Heritage Mile, right in front of the Bard and Banker. This is where it all began. This is where the city of Victoria started. It is so rich with history. You'll never look at this street again once you've met my dear friend Danda Humphrey and spent some time with her today. Danda, why was it so important for you to do research on this particular mile, this stretch? Why is this such an important thing for us to understand?
It's important because this is the very first European settlement on this part of the northwest coast. There wasn't really anything in this area north of San Francisco in those early days, and the Hudson's Bay Company decided to build themselves a fort here, new northern headquarters, and they established the fort on this end of the island. So before that there weren't any Europeans around.
Just walking through the back door of the fort here on Fort Street. We're going to continue to wander around Government Street to show you all the cool secrets of Victoria's Heritage Mile with Danda Humphreys. But first, it worked. Yes, the social experiment that James Green launched just 2 weeks ago to get Tom Green an exclusive interview. It worked. Thank you all very much for participating. And now, we've all waited for it. James Green's interview with Tom Green. Can you guess where I am right now? Danda and I are actually standing on Government Street, but it's actually much more than just Government Street. This is our Heritage Mile. And tell us, how many years ago would this have been Fort Victoria? What year was this built up?
Would have been 170 years ago. Wow. 170.
So 170 years ago, if I was wandering down the street, what would I see? Seeing is believing. You
would have seen just a dirt track. And then 20 years after that, there would have been a fellow here. His name is on a brick in the sidewalk, Charles and Sarah Hayward.
Yes.
So Charles Hayward came from England, and he was one of the many businessmen along the street. So there were butchers and bakers and cabinet makers and all kinds of people, and he was a cabinet maker. So he started up this business in this store right behind us here in 1867, and he started BC's first funeral services.
Really?
Yes. So right there in that store, he did all his embalming in the basement.
There are more cool factoids and trivia that we are going to share with you. But first, I know that the key to shopping and eating local is you have to know who your farmer is. But what if you go to buy bacon? How are you going to know who the farmer is? Well, there's a new program that's happening that are trying to connect the farmer to the butcher and the baker and the retailer and, of course, you, the shopper. And our very own Sucheta Singh headed out to Metchosin to a sheep farm to discover how we are going to try and do a better job of this. That wasn't a bad story, Sucheta. I know. Silly sheep joke. I can't resist. We are standing on our very own Heritage Mile right on Government Street. Such an incredible, rich place of history. Danda, I mean, almost every 3 feet you could stop and tell a story.
Exactly.
Tell us the story about this building right here.
This is a couple of businessmen called James Southgate, and Lascelles was the last name of his partner, and they built this building in the 1870s to conduct business. They did very well. You can see the ironwork on the outside of the building. That signifies lots of money. They were making good business here. And the interesting thing about it, it's an old building, but if you were to go down into the basement, I wish we could get down there more often, you'd see signatures of people who worked in this building in the early 1900s.
Stay with us, because Danda Humphreys is going to share some more really cool little tidbits about our Heritage Mile here in downtown Victoria. And Dan Kahn has a story about 2 people in the Cowichan Valley who are living their dream. And we're also going to touch base and teach you a few tips on how to do some Japanese cooking. So don't go away. Welcome back to Go Island. We are taking you back in time as we talk about our very own Heritage Mile here on Government Street with historian Danda Humphreys. Danda, let's talk about these bricks underneath our feet here.
This was such a cool project. Way back in the 1970s, the city of Victoria decided that they would show people in Victoria where the fort was, because we don't have a fort anymore. So they marked out the perimeter in bricks. And the bricks go all the way along Government Street, down to Brownton Street, right up to Bastion Square, and they show us this was the east side of the fort.
Danda has more really cool ideas for us, but first, there are two artists in the Cowichan Valley that are living their dream. Dan Kahn explains. Thank you so much for bringing us that story, Rayanne. We are standing in front of the Irish Times, but you know it wasn't always a pub. Danda Humphreys, what was this building originally?
Well, this building we're looking at today was built as the Bank of Montreal, and it was designed by Francis Rattenbury. You could see his usual style on the roof. But before the bank was here, there was a big brick house that belonged to Thomas Harris, who was Victoria's first mayor.
Really?
Way back in 1862.
So get a copy of Danda's book. It's called Government Street, Victoria's Heritage Mile. You can buy it online. You can buy it at your local bookstore. And if you go online, you can find out about Danda's walking tours, which I have to say are very entertaining. You're so fun. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us, Danda.
Thank you, Karen.
And thank you so much for joining us on Go Island. We really appreciate that you take your precious time to hang out with us for a little while. And we want to hear back from you. You can find us on Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter, you can email us, call us if you see us around, say hello. We love hearing from you. Thanks for watching.